This is in the Gothamist. This is the headline. Former top NYPD lawyer is latest to file corruption suit against department in Adams. That's the 6th executive, by the way. This is from Ben Feuerherd from the Gothamist. He's a really good guy. I've spoken to him before. He used to actually work for the New York Post when they weren't so pro-corruption, pro-Eric Adams paper. So this is the article I'm going to read. It's very brief. A former top NYPD lawyer filed a lawsuit against the department and Mayor Eric Adams this week, accusing them of firing her after she investigated the highest-ranking uniformed officer and recommended disciplinary actions against them. The plaintiff, Amy Litwin, claims in the complaint that she was terminated from her position after issuing a detailed report in May 2023 about former Chief of Department Jeffrey Madry. Litwin completed a review at the request of the Civilian Complaint Review Board following accusations that Madry used his position to avoid the arrest of a retired officer after that officer allegedly menaced teenagers with his gun drawn. Ms. Litwin, who was in charge of recommending discipline at the NYPD, had her career ripped away for doing her job. Time after time, she resisted intense pressure from Mayor Adams' inner circle to cheapen or ignore penalties for Adams' clique. Her attorney, Sarena Townsend, said in a statement. And when Ms. Litwin dared to try to hold Adams' Chief of Department, Jeffrey Madry, responsible for his criminal activity and reported that activity to the NYPD Commissioner, that was the last straw. She was terminated, Townsend added. City Hall and the NYPD did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Madry later resigned following an unrelated accusation by a subordinate that he demanded sexual favors in exchange for approving overtime wages. He has denied that accusation. Litwin's lawsuit is the latest in a string of corruption allegations brought in civil lawsuits by former top executives of the department. Most notably, former police commissioner Tom Donlin claimed in a civil lawsuit last month that Adams and other NYPD officials ran the department as a, quote, criminal enterprise, end quote. Adams has said Donlin's suit is baseless. Litwin's suit states that Keishant Sewell, who served as police commissioner at that time, agreed with Litwin's conclusions in the report that Madry abuses authority and should face discipline. Sewell resigned weeks after the report was issued, and Adams replaced her with Edward Caban, the suit states. In August 2023, Caban summoned Litwin to his executive office and fired her, the suit states, adding that Madry was also in the conference room at that time. The decision to fire Litwin was made with the express and or implied authority and consent of Mayor Adams, the suit states. The suit also names Caban and Madry as defendants. Lawyers for Caban and Madry did not immediately respond to a request for comment. This is another bombshell. And without any further ado, I'm going to have a good friend of the show. She's the attorney on this case. Sarena Townsend, step up to the stage. You did it again. I mean, I don't know if I'd love to know more about this. I'm just going to start by saying it's unbelievable now, Sarena. There's six executives that filed a lawsuit against not only the city, not only the mayor, but the police department. And it shows a severe pattern that has developed that we've pointed out. You and I, John and Eric, Marlon, we've always said this on the Finest Unfiltered, and it's all playing out in litigation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're just all disgruntled employees.
Yeah.
I guess they're just all really sad, and that's why this is happening. No, I mean, the truth of the matter is what you're seeing is, in fact, a pattern and practice. It is a corrupt organization, and it was run in this way with this very blueprint. And, you know, Sal, I could talk forever about this, and I'll try to keep it short, and I'll just answer your questions. But I will say that it rings so true. I have to personally stand up and applaud my client, Ms. Litwin, because it's not just that she's saying these things are happening. It actually jives exactly with my own personal experience when I was in charge of investigating internal affairs and discipline in DOC. So for me, it's not just about representing people in my job. I very much take care to really try to navigate the clients that come to me and try to pick people that I really do believe in, cases that I really do believe to be credible. This I didn't even have, I mean, every single thing that's listed in this complaint and everything that I know about this case, it aligned exactly with my own personal experience. So I didn't even have to wonder whether this was true or not, or wonder whether it was credible. It was so mirrored in the situation that I personally went through that it was a no-brainer for me. And it tracks, and it's illegal, and it should never have happened.
So, yeah. So I actually have someone here, Simone DePaulo, said, "Hey, Sal, I'm retired from the job and really enjoying your video. So very sad what is happening to the once greatest police department in the world." Thank you for that, Simone. I got to be honest with you. I'm flabbergasted. I even got called John McCarry, and I called him because we're like, we can't believe that it's a sixth executive. So obviously, I have a few questions to start off. First of all, how did this all come about? Because I think Amy Litwin has been there since 2018, and she's herself in a allegation. She's in a few lawsuits herself. I mean, she terminated me. Technically, I want to know how does this all work in this office? Because as a department advocate, you kind of hand over what you want. And, we understand now under Donlan's lawsuit, that police commissioner sounds like it's in name only. You're basically, like the soccer mom today, Jessica Tisch, they have no idea what's going on. And other people are running this department. So how did this all come about with her? Because it sounds like the minute she went against we'll say the Crumbs crew, boom, they decapitated her. That's what this sounds like.
That's right. So it is actually very interesting the way that discipline works at these law enforcement agencies. It's similar in NYPD as it is to DOC, which is the commissioner technically has final say in discipline. What they do is they don't have, obviously, with all of the responsibilities that a commissioner has, they don't have the time or ability to go through one by one every single case and decide on everything, right? So what ends up happening is you have this department advocate in NYPD or somebody who oversees discipline who evaluates cases and determines their what's called a recommendation for discipline. It's always a recommendation. It's never final until a commissioner signs off on it. And in the NYPD, it could be actually not only Ms. Litwin or whoever takes her place who gives that recommendation, but the first deputy commissioner. At the time of the Madry incident, when Ms. Litwin was trying to pursue and recommend discipline for Madry, Caban was the first deputy commissioner. So it's like really the worst luck ever for somebody in her shoes, because he's the one who kept trying to interfere and prevent her recommendation from moving forward. He is allowed to present his own recommendation to the commissioner as well, by the way, as the FDC. And so what's supposed to happen is it's supposed to go on parallel tracks. He recommends, she recommends, and the commissioner makes a final decision. But what was happening was Caban was, putting his thumb on the scale and trying to get her to change what her recommendations were. And in the end, in fact, it's actually, in my opinion, a bit of a conflict of interest here, because he ended up going from first deputy commissioner to commissioner, and he was already involved in this case and trying to manipulate that situation. And then he ended up wearing the crown, right? He ended up being allowed to make that final decision. And once that happened, right? Once they were going tit for tat, and then he ended up in power over her, it was over for her. There's just no way. So that's what ended up happening. And that's what happens in law enforcement agencies is the commissioner has the final say, but a lot of it depends on who the commissioner is and who he or she is surrounded by to determine what their power really is and how easily influenced they could be.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because I know the first deputy commissioner at this time was Eddie Caban. Because not to talk about my own case, but you see how now it's the person in my own case that needs to answer for everything right now, and she'll get deposed, which unfortunately, she's a defendant in my case. She's also in your case, would be Keyshawn Sewell. What exactly, I mean, I don't know if she had any direct conversations with, I don't know if she's supposed to, but how does this go that this recommended, because again, she's in a lot of other, because I got people that can't, there's people that I'm suing her for this. I mean, Samuel Yee who was the advocate in my case, has a lawsuit against her and the police department for throwing him out. So it's like, again, I don't know, like, who is calling the shots here, Sarena? That's the question.
That is the question. And honestly, just based on what I see happening in the NYPD, and again, I saw it blatantly in DOC, there is no obvious answer. And it's not true for every single case that this person was the final say. Like I see that technically on paper, the final say is always the commissioner, but there's always influences here and there. Some cases, there's never an influence, right? Like I was dealing with a very aggressive union who would make calls to the commissioner all the time and try to influence final decisions and go over my head. And sometimes they were successful at doing that. But other times they didn't. It only mattered to them, their own friends and their own cronies. So they would make calls for their own people, but other people they just didn't care about. And so, a lot of it will depend on the people involved in the case and the power that those people's friends and family have over the final, rendering of a decision. So I actually think, Sal, I really think that every case is unique. And I think, with your case, for example, you're going to find all of that out in discovery and depositions, and you're going to find a way to figure out who made that final call and why and how. And that's what we're going to do too. We are very eager to move forward and make sure that we uncover everything that really happened, because we know that there was a ton of corruption here and we just want it to be uncovered and accounted for.
Yeah. And like, Marlon said here, he says, Sarena, you, John Scola, Eric Sanders, and Jimmy Wagner need to come together on a civilian RICO. All the cases are related. Now,
yeah. Go ahead, Sam. Mm-hmm.
I think he actually has a point. He said now, even the kid in Coney Island with Caban's protection racket, it's all connected. I don't know. I think so, Sarena.
Listen, that's actually why I said long ago when Eric Adams was actually facing criminal prosecution, I was surprised that they didn't put a RICO criminal case together on him, because I do feel, based on what I'm seeing, and based on the evidence, that he is and was running a criminal organization, a criminal enterprise, and all of the things. I mean, look, they went after Diddy for that same thing. We're going to talk about Diddy too, but I actually feel like the evidence against Adams for a RICO case is stronger. I do, because I think that is how he was running the enterprise, and he was running it by conducting and telling other people to conduct illegal activity for his benefit. So I totally agree with Marlon, because I think that a criminal case could have been brought here for RICO. So certainly a civil case could. There is a pattern and practice issue here. There is a blueprint. I saw it myself. I experienced it myself. And now I see it with my clients. You can see that there is a blueprint, and that's part of the enterprise. That's like, how he expected and wanted his appointees to act. And they did.
I see there's a clear-cut pattern here with just about everything with this administration. And for those who are claiming that he's going to be the savior of New York City, that was always laughable. I mean, we knew that, people having these fundraisers for this guy. He's going to cost the city, in the end, hundreds of millions of dollars. Why? There's going to be two, we'll call them class action suits coming. One for the illegal hair test that was going on underneath him. The drug screening.
Yeah.
The second one, which you also have a hand in that. The second one's going to be this candidate assessment thing that's coming. The candidate assessment, that is going to be a mega suit coming. And it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars between all these cases, defending them, and the eventual payouts that will occur. But, to go back to this with Amy Litwin and what she's alleging here. Well, my question is, when she was there in this office, I don't know if you noticed, but is she doing things because this crew, this particular, because she was there prior and things really fell off the rails with this little Eric Adams crony crew.
Right. Were
they telling her, no, you got to save this one, or disagreeing with her and then letting her destroy, per se, a guy like me that I'm not hooked up to these guys. I wasn't a con sofrito guy. So let's bury Sal, but we're going to, no, wait a minute. you went after Marjorie? You didn't dismiss this? And then they went ahead and did what they did here, cabaning him.
Right. I mean, so the problem was that she was trying very, very hard to resist all of those pressures. Like they were asking her to take it easy on their cronies. They were asking people who were either suspended, modified, however you frame it in PD, to be brought back. And again, only the people in their own circles did they obviously, want to have lower discipline or no discipline. And it's very hard. I will tell you, like, at least for me, I almost feel like it worked out better for me. I was fired on day one after one request or demand, essentially, to bury a ton of cases. And I just flat out said no. And I was fired for that. Like, for me, I actually prefer that, because to actually work under these people who are going to continuously try to get you to do those things, it's horrible. It's actually horrible. And no ethical attorney is going to want to give up their license and, do something totally unethical for someone else's cronies and be under that kind of pressure. And I just feel for her, because unlike me, she was there. She was still there for a period of time, trying over and over and over again to resist all of that pressure that I am sure was just bombarding her. It's horrible. Yeah,
because even Marlon just had a statement here. He said at the end, and this is a quote from Kaz Dordry, actually, you're either seated at the table or on the menu. So what you're saying is, because this is important about people understand this, she came in, she's a disciplinarian, right? There's a lot of these cases that occurred under O'Neill, then when de Blasio was there. But then under Adams comes the pressure of, hey, tap her on the shoulder. That's one of ours. You have to go easy on it. Because no one's ever said that yet. I mean, we have now, but if she's saying that on top of this, that's very important to show there is favoritism, there is nepotism, there is cronyism, and Amy Litwin either went along with it, or I guess she got fired for not agreeing with one of their own being disciplined.
Exactly. And I will tell you, Sal, and I've said it before, I was getting those calls. Yep. I was the her of DOC, and I was getting those calls. This is why I'm saying, like, I do not doubt one thing that she has told me. When you're an attorney and you get clients, you have to evaluate their credibility. You want to make sure that you are representing them the right way, and that you want to take cases that aren't going to make you look foolish either. That you want to, I don't know, like, you really want to have discretion with respect to who you pick up. And for me, like I said, I was getting the same treatment that she was facing. So it's happening throughout the agencies. I don't know how aggressively it was happening in other agencies, but obviously NYPD and DOC are like the law enforcement agencies. And so those were, I guess, Adams's favorite places to plant people. And it was absolutely happening there. I could attest to it personally, and clearly it was happening in the NYPD as well.
Yeah. So I got a question here from Joel Ramirez. He says, Sal, why didn't she say something before, meaning Amy? Did Amy tell anyone anything during this time period, or how did this play out?
Yeah, so she did, and that's why she was fired. Keep in mind that this lawsuit is filed now, but the incident happened like almost basically 2 years ago. So It's not like she's been working under Adams this whole time and she's only saying it now. She was fired a while ago. So these things happened. She was speaking up immediately. She was terminated in August of 23, and he came in January of 22. She did complain, as you could see in the complaint in the lawsuit. She complained numerous times, and she was told, that the interference is going to stop. It will stop. Okay, we'll take care of it. It'll stop. And it unfortunately never did. And so she did. She routinely complained about things, and very much tried to keep everything, above board for as long as possible. And frankly, she clearly only was able to last about 1.5 years before they got rid of her. And of course, that 1.5 years coincides with Caban's ascension to commissioner, right? Like, he was the first deputy commissioner for a big chunk of that 1.5 years. But then in July of 23, he becomes commissioner. And now August of 23, she's fired. So it's a pretty damn quick turnaround from when he gets that position to when she's out.
And now Anthony DiMaggio asked, did she have any right to an appeal, meaning appeal or termination?
So it sucks when you are at the level that she was at when you're a deputy commissioner and you're a civilian and you don't have civil service protections. There's no due process. They could fire you basically for any reason as long as it's not, discriminatory or whistleblower. But this is her ability to get a remedy. The fact that they didn't fire her for no good for no reason, just, we were going in a different direction or we just whatever. She was clearly fired because of the fact that she was a whistleblower and it was in retaliation for her whistleblowing. And so this is her way to get justice. There's no appeal. This is kind of the only route that she could take at this point. Yeah.
And I believe at the time, if you did complain, I believe there's internal affairs, as you know, as we've learned, internal affairs, especially on the, Caban and that whole crew, those reports went to die. The only reports that mattered is, Sal Greco is a friend of someone who's a political consultant. We must terminate him. We must send the full weight, call the government, call everyone, go after him.
They brought out the big guns for you, Sal. It's crazy. It's crazy. Go after him.
But hey, wait. So the first deputy commissioner, now the police commissioner, he's running. He's got a hand in an extortion racket that's got human trafficking at his brother's restaurant. No. We don't even look.
That's
there.
All good. Don't worry about that.
Good. That's all good. And this suit now you have, and I was going to piggyback the original suits you had. You had 4 chiefs you represent, essentially, with everyone having their own case against the same people. Then, right after you came out, you were on this show talking about that, where Eric Adams came out and called you a disgruntled employee. Okay.
I'm doing fine, by the way. I'm super not disgruntled.
This guy took a shot at you for no reason.
I know.
Then backtrack.
And he called me a stalker. So ridiculous.
Yes. He called you a stalker and a disgruntled employee. Missed the 7% in the polls.
Yeah.
Then the following week, John Scola dropped the mother of all lawsuits on his desk when Tom Donlin, the former police commissioner, alleges, it's unbelievable, the stuff that was in there. It's so much that we on the Finest Unfiltered broke it down into 2, you can listen to it. And we have a narrator. I think we put Barack Obama there and narrating it.
So good.
And you can listen to the whole lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's 300 pages. It's unbelievable. And now you have a deputy commissioner coming out. So I see a pattern developing of same behavior. All these executives do whatever they want. If you're not part of that crew, if you're not part of Crumbs or Con Sofrito, you're done. That's how this works. It doesn't matter what rank you are. You must be in this circle. And we've said this over and over again. As John McCarty just commented, said Crumbs, book 3, chapter 32, the discipline. It seems.
I'm waiting for John's book.
I know, Sarena, it does seem, though, that there is a serious pattern developed here.
Yeah.
There is a pattern. There's 6 executives. We have all of us saying all this stuff. I mean, Marlon, he was terminated. He didn't even have a fair I don't even know if Litwin, I guess Amy Litwin terminated him because he wasn't even in the advocate's office. So I don't know what happened, but what do you have to say for this whole grand scheme of all these lawsuits? 6 in a 3-week span to Eric Adams and his administration. And it's deafening that there's all kinds of corruption happening. It's going to cost millions of dollars.
It is. It's going to cost us, though. It's not going to cost him. And that's what's so despicable about all of this. It's part of the reason why he acts with such impunity is because there's no personal accountability here. It's all us, taxpayers, people who live in New York City. We all have to foot his bills. I think we were footing his bills for his criminal defense attorney, too, at some point, right? He always finds a way. And, it is what it is. Eric Adams, if you want to be that guy, like you want to have that reputation, you feel good about yourself that like you're such a slippery person that you can get out of trouble. Like you have to understand, like my brother is a social worker and he always says, and he's right. He says, you know what? I see people getting by all the time with stuff. I do. I see people getting by. And I've stopped worrying and being upset about it because all I need to do is be able to put my head down on my pillow at the end of the night and feel good about myself and the things that I did that day. And that's how I feel about Eric Adams. You feel like you're a winner because you're able to like slither out of, actual physical accountability on the paper. But your reputation is bigger than that and is worse than that. And that's the legacy that you're going to leave. And that's what you have to think about when you go to bed at night. So for me, like it's bigger picture. I do want to see accountability. I think it's disgusting. And I do chase accountability and I will continue to until I have my last breath. But at the same time, I always fall back on that. If you are that person, you have to live with yourself. Good luck with that. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like this.
Me neither.
Like he's just like, oh, another lawsuit. Like that's how he feels that he's entitled